Welcome to the Crypto Astro podcast. I have with me a very special guest. Her name is Wright, and she's known as the Crypto Profit Guru on YouTube. And she has some amazing video analyses with about crypto and astrology, which obviously is very in alignment with what I'm doing as well. So Ara, thanks for coming on the show. Please introduce yourself. And I'm also curious about when and why did you start being the Crypto Profit Guru?
Well, thank you. I appreciate being on here. I think you found me at Acapulco, is that right? Because I recently spoke there. I'm not sure if that's where you found me or if you found me on
I got
YouTube.
referred
Anyway.
to you by Serene. She was a
Oh, okay. That's right. You told me that. Yeah, she's lovely. She's really sweet. So it's kind of been a journey. I first got into crypto in 2016. I actually heard about it in 2011, tried to buy it, couldn't figure out how because the technical, you know what I mean? It was really difficult technically to do back then. And I learned a lot and it's gotten a lot easier over the years. There've been a lot of generations of changes in the crypto sphere, but so I started focusing my YouTube and my analysis on crypto in I was doing it before that for myself because I was in 2016, but I got into the market. But I started publicly doing crypto forecasting and reports, timing, focusing on the peaks and valleys of crypto, when to get in, when to get out. In 2019 is when I started. And it evolved. I mean, I have two sites. In fact, I don't have either one of them up here. I have two sites. There's the cryptoprofit.guru site, which you just spoke about, and the other one is me, it's my name, Wright.media. And that's the first site, and that's the one where I have more like astrology stuff. I'm not sure if that's showing up, but anyway, I put it on there. So that site, Wright.media, has my memberships and also more astrology, and it evolved, and I became the crypto profit this last year because I wanted to focus more on crypto, and I started adding some technical analysis to what I'm doing. It's so that I could get more specific. Like I've always been getting the price levels, which I suppose would be Fibonacci levels, right? I've been getting that psychically. I'm also a channel. I've been a channel for many years. I'm putting out a book this year, which is all about creating conscious communities, because that's what's coming next to the world. It's going to be really an important shift for all of us. And so yeah, that's kind of how that's evolved. It's been a journey. I've done I started practicing astrology when I was 9. I found a book my stepmother had, and she helped me learn astrology. So it just became a really good combination of things eventually. Like I was saying to you a minute ago, astrology and technical analysis sometimes, they require a lot of the same skill, that sort of analysis. I mean, I'm a psychic, which is very, right brain thing, but analysis is a very left brain thing. So trying to bring those two sides of the self together to bring balanced information is part of what I'm all about. So I mean, I'm not sure, a lot of people either fall on one side or the other, but I'm a lot of both of those things. So I need to be able to use the analysis as well as the psychic side of things. So I provide both types of information for members.
Beautiful. And okay, so what stuck out to me, what you're just talking about, that you're writing a new book, that kind of stood out to me about conscious communities. And that's a big part of my vision as well, is seeing for the last 10 years, I've seen this vision of like a web of new communities like sprouting around the world, and you could call them conscious communities or new earth communities, where we're coming together, we're sharing resources, we're sustainable.
You're giving me chills. That's exactly right. That's exactly what I'm saying. But there's a separation. I mean, there's going to be people who go into the control grid world, and then people who are building up the real world, the organic world, right? Because we're on the verge of some pretty scary things with AI and this whole human fusing with the grid and all of that. So it's a definite choice people are going to have to make to be in one world or the other, right? And the world that you're talking about and that I'm talking about is an organic world. It's a world where we are actually creating real value and sharing it with each other and living with real relationships, right? Not in this fake kind of reality that we can all now live in if we want to, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely the direction I'm going. I chose that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So how does crypto fit into this picture of new conscious communities?
Well, in fact, this is actually the main reason I do the crypto membership, is that I'm here to help build up this strong army of people, because these are going to be the people who create these communities. People who have crypto are going to be the people who have basically all the resources in the future, I mean, all the, money, whatever you want to call it. Crypto's currency, it's not money. The only real money is silver and gold, but it's going to be extreme value if you have the right ones, right? There's a lot, there's like 97% of the coins out there are going to die a horrible death, and like people lose a lot of money in them, but there are good lists of good ones, right? And you have to have the right ones and know when to be a little smart with it, to take some profits and buy back in and that sort of thing, in order to be in the right position, because it won't happen all, well, it kind of will happen very quickly, but we're going to have to go through some difficult times before we get to that moment where we're, wildly wealthy. I just actually see that people who are the successes long-term in crypto are the people who have a bigger vision. There are the people who are the leaders of the future. They are the people who are going to be banking their own communities, who will have the Bitcoin required to buy a large piece of property and set something up. That's who's going to do this in the future. So, I feel like part of my job is to help build leaders, and to help them be strong and successful and ready to take on this really hard road. It's not for everybody, because it's not going to be easy. I mean, it takes a certain type of character to be the person who can get through this.
Right, right. We're going to see lots of more volatility, more crazy world events. Yeah, lots of really scary things probably. So we got to we got to be mentally prepared for that, and spiritually and emotionally prepared.
Yeah, and crypto's been a test for that in a lot of ways. A lot of the ups and downs of the market has weeded out the really impatient opportunity seekers, the people who, screaming and yelling, temper tantrum throwing, I have to make $1 million, like I have to make money this week, every week from crypto. That's not how crypto works. You have to know, you have to be smart and in control of yourself in order to succeed at crypto, because crypto will tell you how it is. You're not going to tell crypto what to do. It's just not like that. It's a spiritual lesson.
Yeah, true. So yeah, so it's not a good mindset to enter crypto with like, I need to get rich quick or things like that. And like you said, it's important to have like a big vision of like, well, what are you creating this wealth for? Why are you investing it? Like, do you have a vision that, are you actually going to use this for something in the future towards your vision or your mission, or are you just trying to get rich? Right.
Right. And the thing is, I mean, we saw it over and over again with all the criminals this last year, 2022, with the FTX scandal and the meltdown of Terra Luna. And this is what I spoke about in Acapulco, was how we are in what I call, it's an astrological cycle. I call it the fourth wave of crypto. So crypto's had 3 previous cycles. The very first cycle was just basically almost only Bitcoin, right? And everything else has come along in different waves on top of that. This fourth wave is all the criminals. So, most people who got into crypto did it in the last 3 years when we started to run up. Very few people were in long term. And the people who were in before back when I got in, who got in before 2017, 2018, before we got that first peak, those people are hodlers. They're long-term vision people, right? A lot more of the people who are newer are opportunity seekers, and they may have made money, they may have lost money, they may have gotten frustrated, whatever happened during this last 3 years for them, there were a lot of them that got sucked into these scams, because it was all marketing. And it's been a situation for these last 3 years, or basically since fall of 2019, and this fourth wave continues. It goes until 2025 at least. But we will have big peaks before it ends. It's it's not the real bull market of crypto yet. This is the test, because it's weeding out the people who have the discernment to be able to find people who are offering something real versus people who are offering them the fantasy, because that fantasy stuff is ultimately gonna destroy everybody. And we can't have those people building the new reality. People building the new reality have to be sober, have to have a clear head, you know, I mean, I feel like it's not exciting for me to say this, but they have to really be people who are adults and who are patient and have, you know, character. That's who it's gonna take to build up a new community. That's just the truth of it, you know, that's just been really strong spiritually. The message I've gotten for a long time is that this is a future for people who are grown-ups, not for children, you know.
Yeah, and like you said, spiritually and emotionally adults, yeah, who can handle some craziness that's, yeah, could be coming. I totally agree. So what did I want to talk about next? So many things. So how long do you think like things like Dogecoin, like how long is that going to last? Like that, you know, that can't last forever.
Well, it's, you know, we're getting into kind of a big can of worms because Dogecoin can last for a really long time because it's attached to Elon Musk and Twitter. Elon Musk is going to create payments channels through Twitter. He's going to come up with, I think they already do have their own cryptocurrency, hasn't been announced yet, but they will have a Twitter currency, but it's going to be really good for Doge when Twitter moves, you know, into that payments arena, which they plan on doing in no uncertain terms. And that's going to, it's basically Elon Musk has always been in the payments business, right? So think about that, right? Elon Musk has Twitter, he has Tesla, he has Starlink, he has he wants to go to Mars. I mean, all these things can have his payment processor attached to it, his payment system attached to it. I mean, he created PayPal, right? So the guy's always been interested in the money transaction thing. So this is going to be kind of a, I'm not saying everyone wants to be part of it, right? Because this is going to be some of the decision making we're going to have to make along the way is which parts of this infrastructure we want to be connected to and which parts we don't. But he is definitely going into the payments world. So Dogecoin can be around for a very long time, but it's going to have ups and downs just like everything else. You know, that's the way it works.
Okay. I'm not invested. I'm not promoting it in any sort of way. What do you think about Elon Musk? Is he kind of like just a neutral guy who's just playing his part, or kind of negative, or do you have any sort of reading on that?
Well, I believe he is sincere, right? I believe he truly does want what's best for humanity. I think that is why he got Twitter and purchased it. I do think he understands the idea of free speech and he wants people to be communicating with each other. I think that he has, so he's probably like, okay, I don't know if this is not PC to say or whatever, but he's socially unaware of certain things, right? So I think he might be a little bit on the spectrum. Like there's certain things about human interaction that he doesn't quite get. He spent a lot of time thinking about things like AI and AI merging with humanity and things like that. But as far as, you know, those figures that are in the public eye, I think he's a good one. Like, I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think he's an imperfect human, right? He just doesn't have he doesn't know exactly what's coming. He can have some vision of it. He's thought a lot about AI. He's worried about AI for good reason. He's not wrong about that, but he's come to certain conclusions about it, which is that our best bet is to merge with AI and this sort of thing. And in the end, we will reach a point where we are able to distinguish what is AI and what is not. But AI is like going to turn it into, right? I mean, at least the way it's being used right now, and sort of is that, and also kind of the way it will unfold is that, you know, remember the story of the Pied Piper? It's like that plays that amazing song that hypnotizes all the children and they follow the Pied Piper to their doom. That's kind of what AI is gonna operate like. It's kind of like, come on people, let's go into the pods and let's go into the matrix and we'll give you this fabulous little AI, you know, like virtual world and, you know, all of this kind of stuff. And it's not going to be good. But those of us who are like aware, you know, awake and aware of ourselves, it's very hypnotic. Like, I think AI will be very hypnotic and it's going to lure people in that same sort of way. But I feel like there are people who are gonna see it for what it is. You know, these are the same people who've already been seeing the garbage for what it is. This has been the opportunity for the people who see to find each other, right? So that we can build that real community. So it's scary and it's dark, but it also is necessary in order to create this weeding process in humanity. If that makes sense.
Ah, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Very interesting time. Okay, so Bitcoin for the next few months. Should we do some predictions?
Well, I mean, I can talk about to some, I mean, I have price targets and things like that in my members area, but I do see us hitting some kind of a peak. Probably within the next 8 weeks, we'll hit some kind of a peak, but I have more specific time in the timing reports, also more specifics as to up and downs and those kind of moves that it's gonna make. And, you know, I have buy regions, I have sell regions, that sort of thing, but yeah, we're gonna hit some kind of a peak here within the next 8 weeks. We have a lot happening, you know, Bitcoin has not hit bottom yet. We are going to crash deep, hard, and bad, and it's gonna be impossible for normal people to buy once the big crash happens, because we'll be locked out. They're gonna lock the banks out. People aren't gonna be able to put their money, they won't be able to reach their money, they won't be able to move it into crypto. A lot of the crypto on-ramps have already just shut down. I think I just posted a couple things in the private Telegram group, I mean, in the public Telegram group about the Silvergate Bank is having problems, and there's another bank or another on-ramp that just got shut down. So they are sort of quietly and slowly removing the on-ramps to buy crypto. And I personally would never buy it with a credit card, right? I mean, we all set up LLCs in my membership so that we can do this in a way so that it's just to protect us from the government, basically. So I buy it through my company account, through my LLC, and it's held in my LLC so that I don't have any personal liability for it. But, you know, so that the taxes, because that's gonna be coming next, is regulating and taxes and all of that stuff, which would be really difficult because this is a new category, it's never existed before. So, you know, they can make up the rules as they go along, which is pretty much their plan. So yeah, that's, you know, that's what's going on with that.
Okay, I've been having a little bit of trouble. I do want to set up an LLC account, but I live abroad, so I don't have an address to prove. I don't have like a business address in the States other than a PO box, so I've been having trouble setting that up. Do you know if there's any way to do that if people are living abroad?
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, if you're a US citizen, you can have a LLC. We work with John Singleton.
I do have an LLC. I just have been having trouble linking it, setting up an exchange to link it.
So I'm not sure about that. I do know that you should probably talk to John Singleton, JJS, John Singleton, aceofcoins.com. He's great. He's the one that we worked with. He set these up for us, and I was able to get a bank account in the name of the LLC, and then I can use that to connect to, I have a brokerage that I use, Caleb and Brown, that I have my LLC owns that account. And if you want to use calebandbrown.com, they're a really good brokerage. They're in Australia. Which is good. You don't want them in the US. If you give them my name, you'll get a discount on fees. So you'll get 3.5% instead of 5%. But they're really good, and you have a certain bit of protection if you put it in your LLC and you're able to. That's how I've handled putting money into crypto, right? Except for when I first started in 2016, and I was doing it just directly through Silvergate Bank. But yeah, it's an issue now. It's more difficult to get in, and you have to have some kind of banking link. I don't know. That's a really hard thing for me to answer because they keep shutting down the on-ramps. And for me, the best way to do it is with the LLC and with our relationships that we've established. But there are some, there's literally no way as a US citizen for you to buy crypto that I know of anymore from the US using your bank account or your credit card without giving them all the KYC and all that information. You really can't do that anymore. So as far as I know, there may be some way, but it's top secret. You know what I mean? It's sort of like the kind of thing that's hush hush that people are whispering to each other. And I don't know it because I have my method with the brokerage that I use. So
maybe I'll contact them.
You should, yeah,
they
because
live in Brown.
it's hard for people to do this now. It's hard for people to get in. And the last place you want to do it is with Coinbase. The last place you want to do it is with US based, entities. The sort of the Wall Street guys and all the big names will come out and tell you that, oh, it's great, now we're regulating it, and now this is happening, and go to Coinbase, and they put out all this information that makes people feel safe about Coinbase, right? That now you're regulated, now it's safe. And it's true that regulation does lay the foundation for the real bull run of crypto. It will, and crypto will start to take off after regulation is finished. But the regulation isn't for you, it's for them. And companies like Coinbase are the worst. They are absolutely not on the side of the public. They're not on the side of the consumer. And they're just that's gonna be a track tag digital control wallet eventually. And they're going to come after you for taxes and take it without your permission, without you even knowing about it. They may take too much. You'll never be able to fight it. I mean, it would be a nightmare to do anything that is associated with Coinbase or really any US based. I mean, Gemini is okay, but they're still in the US and they're gonna be subject to all the US rules. So you're better off working with exchanges that are off US soil. And the two that I like the best are KuCoin. KuCoin is pretty good, and also Coinex, which is actually, I think, in Japan. And they're both good exchanges. They both have been really solid and will continue to be solid. So those are the two that I actually use and that I recommend to members. But we're gonna reach a time here eventually where there will be raids on exchanges, especially US exchanges, and they will just go in and take everyone's crypto and like, oh, you're a criminal, you're in money laundering. They can just kind of make it up as they go along, and it's not gonna be good, right? It's gonna be, no one's gonna be happy about it. So this is like, I never recommended anybody get into Terra Luna, right? I never recommended my members use FTX. Like they weren't even on my radar. Like I wasn't thinking about them. So I didn't tell people they would be collapsing, but I also never recommended people go in there. And in crypto, it's just as important what you avoid. That's what you buy, because there are traps all over the market. You have to be exceedingly careful about what you're doing.
Now, how safe is self-custody? Can they still go after that, or?
Well, I think it really depends on where your self-custody is. I think that, self-custody in general, no. I mean, if you're doing it right, if you have an offline wallet, this is the one I like, the Elipal, right? That's the physical wallet you use. But Trezor is also good. But you don't need these devices. What you actually need is to print your seed phrase, put it on a piece of paper, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in a safe, protect it so it's fireproof, waterproof, and not gonna get destroyed, so that if anything happens, you can always just go back and get your wallet back. So self-custody is really the only safe option. It's just that even if these devices are better than exchanges, they can all still be hacked. This is the best one because it doesn't go on the internet, right? It's air gapped is what it's called. So this is why I like this one. So you plug it in, connect it, do what you want to, and then unplug it, and then you put your credentials in, and then you do your business, and then you're done. But the thing here is that you have to self-custody. I mean, if you don't, you're just asking for trouble, basically. There are decentralized exchanges where you can do trading and stuff like that, but I just gave you 2 exchanges. There are centralized exchanges, so I would only put money in there to trade it and take it out. Like, you don't leave your whole wallet on those exchanges. Maybe you leave a little bit because you're working with it, but you don't ever put much of your money in someone else's hands, because it's just asking for trouble in crypto. It's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen here. I'm gonna look at I recently looked, so Pluto's going to transit 0 degrees Aquarius 3 times. Right. Well, it's gonna go forward 3 times, and then it's gonna retrograde I guess 1, 2 times. So 5 times total, it's gonna hit the 0 degrees, right?
That's a lot, yeah. It's a
right?
Lot
it's crazy. So
yeah.
so the last the last few times, like 2007, 2008, it only passed it 2 times, not 3 times.
You're
Uh,
talking about Pluto, right?
yeah, talking about Pluto. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I went back in the history of like when was the last time it passed 0 degrees 3 times? And I actually found so it was back in 1956 to 1958. So then I looked at the markets back then, and I can show you what I found. It's
Oh,
pretty.
interesting. Yeah, the history is always fun to examine. Definitely.
Yeah, so so this is the time it's going to pass this month on the 23rd, then next year, January 21st, and then November 19th of next year. So we still got a long ways to go. But then I looked at the charts. Okay, so then I went back to the last time that this happened was 1956, and that was on, October, August of, the next year, and then 1958. And
And
then
that was,
I looked at the charts, and this is what I found. So this is kind of what it looked like. Back in 1956, this first blue line is when Pluto transited 0 degrees. And then this is kind of what the charts did. And then, it retrograded somewhere around here. And then, the markets tanked. And then we saw a recovery. And then the second time it transited 0 degrees was here. We saw a peak right before. And then the markets really tanked. And then the third time it transited, the final time, markets were recovering again.
well, so actually, this is really interesting because, okay, so Pluto is a financial planet, right? It's one of the big financial planets. There's also some asteroids that are financial. Oh, can you put that back up? Because I just want to, yeah, point out that, so what this graph, this, I know this is the stock market you're looking at, but what it is a really good illustration of sort of the back and forth motion of the planets, right? Because it's kind of hard for people to visualize that. I always try and explain how when a planet goes retrograde and then it goes into the shadow, goes backwards, and it turns around and goes forward, you're covering the same territory. So this is, it is like a little bit like this kind of a zigzag feeling. So it's pretty interesting that the markets were also doing that at the same time. But I would suggest that it's not just Pluto that did this. It's some sort of pattern that Pluto was making. So it was also the relationships it was making with other charts, with other astrological bodies at the time. But this is really interesting because it is a really good visualization of kind of what happens when you get those back and forth moments of the planets. Although, we could see something like that with what's coming up with Bitcoin. Can you give me your dates again on the zero Pluto, when Pluto's at zero again?
Oh yeah, let's see.
But you see,
October 20th, 1956.
oh no, I meant the next ones. Yeah, those are the past ones, I want the future ones.
Oh, okay, let's see. March 23rd, obviously, and then January 21st of next year. And then
and then
November
November.
19th is the final transit of 0 degrees.
So yeah, that would make the whole cycle in 2024 be really big. That's probably pretty consistent with what I'm seeing. I think that's probably going to repeat very similarly. That's really interesting and good information. I think that yeah, so Pluto is such a big deal, and Pluto is also like, so we were talking about the 0 degrees of Aquarius, right? So Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and is the governor of all things that are sort of related to public services, public utilities, things like power grids, and like the stock market is ruled by it, and crypto is ruled by it. So this will absolutely have a big impact on those big cycles. So it's just yes, I agree with what and it's good research, actually. I think it's great information that you came up with.
Thank you. Yeah, I was excited.
Yeah.
So you mentioned power grid. So if Pluto goes into Aquarius, could that like kind of transform the power grids, that we could see like a collapse or something at some point?
At some point, I do think that, well, so apart from Pluto going into Aquarius, we are in solar cycle 25, which is, I did a video on it a couple of years ago. We've been in it since, I don't know, 2021 or 2020. And it's I think it was 2020. And it's probably like 5 years. Each solar cycle is different. It's a very active solar cycle, and it has to do with the solar flares coming off the sun. So I think we're more likely to, yes, the short answer to that is yes. And it's also tied to solar activity of this solar cycle, which is super intense, with a lot of solar flare activity. And that is, of course, going to impact the human residents of the Earth and affect the sort of the Earth's heartbeat, you know, the soul of the Earth. And it's creating a lot of disturbances with the atmosphere, with the weather systems. Of course, you know, HARP doesn't help either. And then there's also like, so we have a perfect storm here of a lot of disruption with the grid, with the electromagnetic field of the Earth, with the weather, with huge seismic events, lots of more earthquakes, flooding. All of this stuff is coming big time in these next few years. We're going to see major Earth changes, and I highly recommend everybody be living at higher elevations, right? You don't want to be living below 2,000 feet because of the kinds of changes that are coming. Not all at once. I mean, it's going to happen over the next 7 years or something, but it's a lot. I mean, maybe even up to 20 years, but it's a lot of changes that are coming. So be aware, these are big things. And Pluto also is going to shake up the financial industry, right? It's going to end the Fed, and it's going to shake down the banking industry, and it's going to collapse a lot of things that we've taken for granted for our whole lives. It's all going goodbye at this point.
Mm. Yeah, and definitely communities, like we talked about in the beginning, I think are really important in terms of these changes that are ahead. You know, for example, I'm connected with a couple communities here, one of which has a kind of a community that they're building on the mountain. So like if I need to, I can go there, I can bug out there to the mountain, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's good. And by the way, for anybody on this call, if you see the birds in your neighborhood acting weird, if the dogs start howling, if you see strange like lights and like strange shaped clouds in the sky, get out of your town. Something big is about to happen to the weather. You want to leave. You want to get out of town right away. Like, don't wait, pack up a car and go. You know, it's really that's been like a common theme in all these big disasters around the world, is these kinds of things. We're seeing this kind of stuff in advance, so you know you can be ready.
Wow. Okay. So another question. I've heard some astrologers say that like the old, I like to call it the old dinosaur system, isn't going to go away probably until 2024, or isn't going to collapse until maybe Pluto fully comes out of Capricorn, or what do you think about that?
Maybe. I mean, I think that there will be vestiges of it, right? I don't think
Yeah.
it's gonna be in charge, and I think that we could get a massive end to a big section of it this year, right? Like the dollar could collapse this year. I mean, the dollar is going to die. The dollar will collapse, and there are some really bad aspects. I looked at the Fed, at the chart for the Federal Reserve, for this summer, and it's having some pretty bad aspects this summer. So there's some pretty dramatic stuff going to happen to the Federal Reserve this year. So, and we're going to get big banking upheaval problems. I mean, the European banks are going to start collapsing like any minute here, right? Like we're just like, okay, any minute now they're about to start coming down. So we're going to start to see a lot of the unraveling of the world financial system. But yeah, it'll take probably a decade for the whole thing, to go away. But that doesn't mean everyone won't be won't be out of the system by then. I don't think it'll take people a year to get out. I think people are going to realize, oh, well, let's go back to the real money, gold and silver, and oh, look, crypto, this new thing, it works really well. We can do these transactions, and it's a safe store of value. So I think that it's going to shift faster than that speed, right?
Okay. And then like if they try, so when they try to roll out the CBDCs, do you think people are going to be running for the hills from that, or?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think that we have I do actually. People are absolutely waking up. I mean, I've been saying this since 2019. It's on my channel. I've been predicting this. They're going to try 3 times with the CBDC. They're going to roll it out once, the public will reject it. They'll come out with another one, the public will reject it. They'll come out with another one, and the public will reject it, and then they'll give up, and they'll be like, all right, well, crypto it is. We can't get you guys to take our, little treats, and then, like it's like the luring the dog into the trap, basically. So because people are figuring it out. And the thing is, a lot of people are getting so bad. You're going to see like rage. I mean, it's already happening, but they're not reporting on it. You're not going to see it on the news, but the rage, I mean, there's nothing like a walking dead man who's to be like mad at you. You don't want that. You know what I'm saying? There's quite a few of those out there right now. And so we have a whole lot of rage, and there's, I don't know if you're not even in the US, and I wasn't for a couple of years, but since I've been back here, I am feeling and seeing that there are groups of people there. This is happening. Like people in communities who like maybe ex-military people or whatever, they're gathering together, they're forming teams in their neighborhoods, like just in case we have to fight off the government, we're ready, we have this stockpile. I mean, this is happening. This is not science fiction. This is not way off into the future. This is now. This is happening. And there, like maybe there might be most people who are still like unconscious, but it doesn't take a large percent to shift the whole ship, to move the needle for everything. It's just a small, like, what do you need? 3% or something to like literally change the trajectory of all of humanity. So there's going to be some big changes that are coming, and some big like epiphanies as people start to realize what's been done over these last few years. And actually, one other thing that I just was getting about the this sort of oh no, I just lost it again. Wait, just ask me something else. It'll come back. I just forgot.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
Yeah, I just got like a hit while I was talking to you. I was like, wait, I have to say this.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it will.
I hear a lot of people talking about like get your money out of the banks. How critical is that right now? And like, should we still have some in the banks? Like, or should we?
Okay, so this is like an individual strategy. Everyone has to know.
Right.
I mean, I don't know each person has in terms of stored food or like whatever they might need to get fed, right? Or where they are, in some places you can go out and hunt and feed yourself. Some places you've got garden and you can feed yourself. I don't know. Like everyone has their own situation, right? So, but I would say, yes, it's urgent. Make sure but the problem with having a lot of cash out of the bank, it's better to have silver than it is to have cash, right? Because but you need both. And the reason you need some cash is because cash will be good for as long as people trust cash. And then the minute they don't trust it, it's worthless. So you want it because you don't want to get rid of your silver until you absolutely have to, right? So you want to use the cash to get what you need for, for a little while. Maybe it's 2 weeks, right? That you want to be able to have enough cash to get you through. But you also you should have food, because food is a huge barter item. You should have silver, because silver is going to become real money again. And junk silver is really good to have, like old silver quarters, old silver dimes, because they're smaller quantities that you can actually buy smaller things with. You're not going to try and buy anything small with a 10-ounce silver bar, right? That's ridiculous. The value of silver is going to go so high. Like an ounce of silver is going to buy you an acre of land. So you're not going to try and buy groceries with that, So you're going to need the small silver. We sometimes buy rolls of quarters and go through and see if we can find some old ones. So, but you can just buy them. Just buy the old, junk silver so that you have it. But you're going to want to have that. But having, it's important to have barter items. Ammunition is a really good barter item, even if you don't like the idea of guns. And I used to not like the idea of guns. I'm liking them a whole lot more as time goes on, right? So because they can get you fed, and that's really important. I'm not interested in using them against other people. I'm interested in alternative ways of dealing with people, but like in case you need to like hunt, that's a way to get fed. So depending on where you live, if that's possible or not. So these are things that are important, but also things like lighters and toilet paper and coffee and booze are all heavily barterable things, right? They're things that you can, and depending on where you live, you can do things like you can create a little fire starter and sell those as individual, like you can use egg cartons to make really cheap little fire starters. But if you have like dozens of them, if you made 50 of them, you can use those as little barter items. So this is the way to think. Also, like lighters are also amazing, good items to have. So things like that. What is somebody going to need? What's someone really going to want? I mean, cigarettes, I would never buy them, but if they happen to come into my possession, I would trade them for something else. So this is the kind of thing to think about.
So
money is good for a little while. So maybe
like,
a few $1,000. Sorry.
Seems like gold and silver, like the prices have almost been, I mean, it looks like they've been kind of artificially kept down. Is that kind of what's going on? And then eventually when the system breaks or starts to rupture, then the prices are going to kind of go up to the value that they really are potentially.
That's exactly right. They have to keep silver down. That holds the whole system in place. It's like the tent peg that holds it all up. So as soon as silver escapes from value, everything, they lose control over everything. So the way I see it happening though, is that there, you know, we're gonna get a big crash down and everything goes down. Silver will also go down. So there may be a small window of time to buy silver at some certain low prices. You know, I have that level in my members area, what I expect silver will drop to, that people will be able to get it at. But you know, don't wait if you don't have silver, buy it now. It's $22. It's already incredibly cheap, right? So you can have silver, you can, you know, there will be some drop of silver and then it will escape. It will start to go up and it's not going to go up too high. It might get to like $100, maybe 120 before they wrestle it back down again under like 30 bucks, 40 bucks. And then it will stay there for a little while and it'll look like that chart, you know, you're going up and down, they'll wrestle it down. And then when it starts to escape, it's gonna start to go up to like, you know, 1,000 and higher, right? So, I mean, silver is gonna go so high. There will be, it will shoot up at a certain point up to like 700 and like pause. Then it will sort of gradually go up to like higher, to closer to the $1,000 level, but this is, you know, it's gonna go in waves the way everything does, so I don't know the time on each one of these moves. I just see it unfolding in that way. So silver is gonna be indispensable. You absolutely have to have it.
Okay. And regulations are cracking down, regulators.
Yeah.
And so that could, I mean, that could cause trouble for the altcoin market, especially. I mean, it looks like Bitcoin has a pass. It seems like. Is Bitcoin going to be kind of the safest bet when all these regulations are coming through, or XRP, or what are you thinking about that?
Well, okay, so yeah, so that case, that XRP case is huge, right? And it won't get settled until I'm seeing it get settled in a January. So it could be next January. It obviously didn't happen the January that just passed, although I thought it was possible, but it didn't. They pushed it off on purpose. The reason that it's not settled yet and that they're dragging it out so much, which they are, I mean, it should have been done by now, is so that they can scare people out of the altcoins. Just like for, you know, a decade, they were saying Bitcoin was garbage, it's going to zero, it's not worth anything, it's a fiction, it's a fantasy. They came out over and over again saying this, right? So you have to be like mental to still listen to these people because they're always wrong. And they always because they're wrong on purpose, they're misleading people. They certainly didn't want people buying Bitcoin back in the day when Roger Ver was out there being Bitcoin Jesus and saying, you know, evangelizing for the benefits of decentralized money, which is how I first heard about it. And if, you know, if everybody had done that back then, we would already be out of the, you know, the fiat system. So they don't want people going into altcoins because altcoins represent this massive growth opportunity the same way Bitcoin does. However, Bitcoin is dominant in a lot of ways, and right now it is the dominant coin and it is leading the path. Part of this is because there are countries that are buying Bitcoin. There are, you know, volcano bonds. We have like whole countries creating bonds based on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, you know, basically the bottom line is don't ever underestimate the value of a Bitcoin because you want some Bitcoin, even if you don't think you can buy a whole one, right? Because they're going to go up so much. You're going to see Bitcoin's worth $500,000 or more. They're going to be worth way more than that. So yeah, altcoins are also, most of them will die, but not all of them. And the good ones, some of them are going to become worth more than Bitcoin, right? A couple of them will overtake Bitcoin. And this is something I've actually, I predicted it like when it happened in 2017, and I stand by this prediction, which is that Bitcoin Cash will overtake Bitcoin eventually. And the reason for this is that Bitcoin Cash is being used as money, and it's going to be the money supply starting in Asia, I think primarily Japan. So they're going to replace their system with Bitcoin Cash. And people in the West don't know how favored Bitcoin Cash is in that part of the world. So it just hasn't happened yet. I mean, I predicted this a long time ago. I just didn't know how long it will take. But I do see some sort of dollar relationships between the two as that relationship changes. But this is like years away. So I don't really want to get ahead of myself and talk about it until we start to get there. But it will eventually overtake Bitcoin. And there's one other coin that I see being worth more than that. And also, there are some coins that are going to overtake Ethereum, and there's, a whole lot going on, like in the market where, Ethereum is not bad. You should have a lot of Ethereum. You should certainly buy it when the prices are low. But there are other coins that are better than Ethereum.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any timing on like when a major collapse or major event could happen? Like, could it be coming like this summer or maybe more next year, or it's like one of those?
I'm pretty sure we're getting a major event this year. And I think by this summer, something major is gonna be starting. And yeah, I think that we're gonna get something pretty major this year. We have some just big world events that are happening. Like I said, the dollar doesn't collapse and not take like the world out with it. No, it's huge.
Yeah. Okay. Let's look at I think the May lunar eclipse looks really interesting here. So
The May lunar eclipse. Well, never mind what about the new moon on the equinox, March 21st?
Oh yeah. We could start with that.
Because the equinox, like I could write a whole book about the seasonal degrees, right? The 0 degrees of Capricorn, Aries, Libra, and and Cancer. So you've got the summer solstice, the winter solstice, and the 2 equinoxes, right? The spring equinox and the fall equinox. And these are the core archetypes of the human consciousness, those 4 degrees, kind of like Saturn, the Saturn degree, the winter solstice being they're sort of like, it is like the darkest, it's the darkness, right? It's the darkest before the dawn, it's the darkest day of the year, it's the hardest degree of the entire year. And people with planets on that degree are very interesting individuals, right? With very interesting karma. But anybody who has a planet on any of these 0 degrees is tied up in basically this battle between good and evil in a really personal way. So it's this is the 0 degree of Aries is the warrior, it's the divine masculine, it's the which, as we know, the Khazarian mafiosa, the people who, pretend they're other people in order to run the world, are the gangsters in charge, basically. These guys twist every archetype and invert it and turn it upside down, right? The great mother archetype, the divine feminine archetype, all these things are turned upside down and inside out and devalued so that we are out of touch with our core human principles, right? Core human principles would put us in touch with the divine mother, Gaia, in a real humanity-centered, community-centered way, like the tribes used to be. So the 0 degree of Aries is all about that warrior energy, and it's the warrior energy inverted. And of course, we're seeing this all over our social order. We're seeing that the reversal of divine masculine, divine feminine energy, right? You know what I'm talking about here, that this has been twisted so that we are out of touch, right? So that we lose touch with our humanity, and so that we're confused and that we're easily led and easily confused. So this particular, new moon, it's the full moon or is the new moon? I'm confusing myself. The new moon at 0 Aries is all about this new energy around the divine masculine. So it's 2 things. It's the twisted divine, masculine energy that the cabal is trying to push on people, right? These perversions, these anti-human things, these non-organic experiences of life, right? Versus the real thing. And so the real thing is rising. So this is what I'm also saying about how people are gathering, and you have people who are getting angry, and you have warrior energy is stepping up in a really, really big way. But at the same time, you have, trans women are women. You have that instead. So that's what's going on. It's getting really, it's getting real. It's going to be very real as this battle comes to humanity.
Yeah, and I just think a major new beginning, right?
Huge, a
And
good one
okay,
for those of us who are connected to the organic world. There's a lot of new cycles that have been going on starting the last couple of years as Chiron moved into Aries. It's all about community, people coming together in the right community. And I'm seeing it, I'm feeling it, it's starting to happen. People are finding each other. It's such a relief to me to see that there are some people out there. There's a few people who get it. People are finding each other, they're connecting, they're sharing information. The real tea is coming out now. And it's only going to grow, and it can't be repressed at this point. The more they try and repress it, the more it will grow, actually. So they've already lost in that way. Too many people have already escaped off the edges of their, grasp for control.
yeah, actually, during the pandemic, I don't know if you noticed it too, but here in Bali, it was unbelievable. It was magical how many people were coming together here and creating community. It was just like, I think it almost felt like a glimpse into the age of Aquarius or something, where everyone was just coming together and it was just happening effortlessly.
Oh, that's beautiful. I was bouncing around Mexico for a couple of years, and then I wound up back in the US, and I left the US because I just took a look around. I was in Colorado at the time. I was like, oh, these people are going to take years before any of them start to realize what they have to do in order to make things change. And I'm just gonna get mad if I stay here. I'm gonna get into fights with people. So I left so that I didn't have to, blow a gasket. And so I just was like, I'm just gonna enjoy my life in Mexico and try and look for like-minded people, which I found some there, right? So it was beautiful. But I see a lot of issues, a lot of things that need to be solved. Like a lot of people need to, a lot of people who aren't ready to step up in the way they need to. But that's part of the process. It's all going to be a process of people evolving into this. But it is happening. I mean, it did what it did is it separated people out, right? So now people who needed to find each other have found each other, which is good.
Absolutely. So then we have here in this chart, Saturn's going into Pisces. So Saturn's basically going to lose all of its power, right? That it's had the last couple of years.
I wouldn't go that far. It is moving into Pisces. It changes in Pisces. Saturn and Pisces, yeah, I guess you could say it loses its power, but it doesn't, because Saturn's always going to be a thorn in your side, no matter where it is. What Saturn becomes in Pisces is it does become a very weak individual, people with weak moral character, people who are easily corrupted. And it becomes, those people can be very whiny, underhanded, manipulative, all that kind of stuff.
Depressed,
so you get
victim,
what?
like
Victim,
depressed or mentally kind of going crazy or something.
Yeah, a lot of like, oh, save me, it's all too much, and whatever. Like you said, weak victim, but also a lot of just very. It's weak characters. It's not that Saturn is weak. It's that it brings out that certain kind of behavior in people. And a lot of addiction stuff, a lot of escapism stuff with Saturn. People, junkies stealing everything people have. I mean, never mind that Biden's giving them all crack pipes, to encourage that. So a lot of this fentanyl issue, all of that's gonna be really crystallized during the Saturn in Pisces. You're gonna see a lot more addiction issues, people dying from addictions, and all kinds of pharmaceuticals, right? It's sort of like the Black Death through the pharmaceutical world going on through that whole transit of Saturn through Pisces.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. And then let's look at the eclipses.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the May 5th one looks pretty interesting because the back in November during the FTX collapse, I believe the moon was on the side. I think the moon was in Taurus and the sun was in Scorpio. And this time it's the opposite.
Yeah, but those were, I don't know if one or both of them were total eclipses, right? So they were bigger, they were more important, but you're right that the Scorpio Taurus axis is all about money, right? So it's all,
Yeah.
it is about the financial system, but this is not a total eclipse. It's not as extreme. However, you're looking at the lunar eclipse, right? We're looking at the May 5th
Yeah,
lunar
the May
eclipse.
5th. Yeah.
So as a general rule, what the lunar eclipse does is it brings out secret hidden information. So I'm sure that the FTX thing was on a lunar eclipse. It had to have been because, you know, it revealed the hidden nefarious behavior of everybody over there. So, so that's what's going to happen is more stuff that's secret and hidden. I expect this one is likely to be more about power and sex and people's, you know, all that stuff leaking out. Especially, well, I mean, it's, let me see. You know, we have, especially since the South Node is in Scorpio, right? So it's it's people's sexual messes, people's secrets, the things they don't want anyone to know about. That's the South Node in Scorpio. So it is leaking. And then the you know, the sun being conjunct, well, it's a little wide for me to count the sun with Uranus, but it's, you know, it's within a range. So you're gonna see a lot that's impacting the population, that's impacting the public through this, like media also.
And do you think we could see some major crypto events like the FTX collapse, or it's not going to be as big this time?
May 5th this is not, it's not necessarily going to be a crypto related one. I think it's more a financial system, and it's more, this is more about what's coming with the Fed, because of just looking at the Fed's chart from what I saw from it, that it's getting more impacts, and it's going to have more of an impact on banking. I mean, so there's a lot of range of symbolism you can get with Scorpio and Taurus. It could be crypto, it could be banking, it could be stocks, it could be bonds, it could be any financial instrument, it could be derivatives, it could be any of those things, right? It could be in any of those areas. So just the planets and the signs themselves don't tell us that. They just give us, they just point to timing when there's financial events that are likely to happen, secrets coming out in that financial world. But if I look at, you know, I look at different charts than you do, so, but I mean, I can look at this and, you know, what do I see is tied in here? Mars over there in, that's not really a safe. I would say, and then the Pluto over there at 0 Aquarius, you know, that is more of an impact to me because it's squaring the nodes and creating like destiny and like soul lessons for people on a large scale level. And that's going to get worse as Pluto moves closer to that 4 degree. So I think the 4th degree is actually more significant, that only depending as the nodes move, as Pluto moves, but as they move into a more exact square to the nodes, you're gonna have a lot of soul awakening type of lessons. This is to me the you know, do you know tarot cards, right? So it's the see if I can find the card. You go ahead and ask me something or bring up something else and I'll see if I can pull it up, and show it to you while I talk about it.
Well, yeah, that's good that you mentioned the Pluto squaring the nodes, because it looks like that's going to build up all the way to the summer, I think.
Yeah.
So
That's when I'm seeing issues with the Fed, right? That's when I see a lot of issues with the charts of the Federal Reserve.
And
why can't I find it? Am I not seeing it just because I'm talking? I'm trying to look for this. Oh, here it is. Okay, so to me, this is very much this card, the Judgment card, right? So the Judgment card is like your soul being judged. You know, this is on the biblical level. It's like the Gabriel is blowing his trumpets and the souls are rising from their graves. But it could, like, on a mythological level, you could think of it as like zombie apocalypse, zombies coming out of their graves, rebirth, people coming back, things rising back up from the past on a personal level. That's a lot with the with the, but this is also Pluto, you know, the judgment part is Pluto. And it's all about all the depths of stuff, and it's, you know, skeletons coming out of people's closets and all the things coming out from the depths of the id, the deep dark recesses of the psychology, the you know, the drives, the wild, unrestrained, like emotional feelings, impulses. So, and it's when it comes to our collective finances, it's just huge upheaval and it's big changes. So to me but this is on a personal level because it's hitting the nodes, it's squaring the nodes. People will feel it personally. It's going to be, it's that awakening, and it's like a rude awakening because Pluto, you know, there's a really good story from when I was working in the personal development seminar business, which is, you know, when the universe is trying to get your attention, it will tickle you with a feather. He calls the story, it was feather rock truck, right? So that you get tickled with a feather, like, hey, pay attention to this. Maybe you should, you know, I don't know, whatever it is. Maybe you should be paying attention to your health, or maybe you should not drive so fast, and you get a ticket. That's the feather, right? That's the universe giving you a feather. But if you don't pay attention and you ignore it for long enough, then the universe is going to hit you in the head with a brick. You're going to get a brick, right? That's when you get into an accident with your car, you know, maybe a small fender bender, maybe you have a little issue with your car, you're getting like a bigger ticket, or you're having some issues with suspension of your ticket or some of your license because you're not paying attention to the universe telling you, slow down, don't drive so fast. And then if you don't listen to the rock or the brick, sorry, then the universe is going to hit you with a truck. And in this case, this metaphor of driving, maybe you go smack into a truck, you end up in traction in the hospital until you realize you have to change the way you're driving. So this is kind of what I see this as. And it's like Pluto is that awakening that people have to have. And is it a feather? Is it a brick? Is it a truck? I don't know, different for different people. But that's what that represents to me, is that shakeup that makes people realize something's going on. So things will be obvious enough that that there's been, you know, the corruption, the lies, the evidence of the things that happened in the last 3 years, or what was really going on, is going to be in people's faces enough that a lot of people are going to start to really realize that, hey, maybe I do need to go down the rabbit hole and look into these conspiracy facts a little bit more, since they all seem to be true, right? That's the kind of thing that I see that being.
Yeah, so these times are going to be a lot easier for those who are listening to the little nudge from the universe.
Yeah, it's more gentle, right? The feather is the gentlest way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a you know.
Yeah. That's why I'm grateful I have a Pisces moon, and I really can feel the gentle feather, you know, those little
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you like to live by the ocean.
Yeah. Well, I have a pool here. We don't live by the ocean, but maybe someday.
Oh, well, still, I mean, water, you're gonna get a lot from the water, and you're sensitive and psychic and in tune. That's very helpful.
Yeah, totally.
If you're listening to it.
So is Pluto Aquarius, is that going to be the power to the people, would you say? It's next chapter.
It's both. You usually get both manifestations, the positive and the negative, right? So the negative manifestation is power to the machine, is the machine eating the people, and then the positive manifestation is the rising up of the people, shaking off of the shackles, breaking free of the chains, because there's just a welling up from within of this need to break free, this like breakout energy. So it's both. You get some people going one direction, other people going the other, because you will always get both. It's always the way it is.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up, unless you have anything else you want to share. That's good for today.
Yeah, I mean, just one other thing, which is anybody who watches you wants to become a member of my site, I created a discount code. So it's a good for a one-time discount on a membership, a pro membership at my site, or Wright.media, and that would give you $15 off of the pro membership. So it's for like the first 20 people who sign up. So after that, the discount won't be good anymore. So that's for your viewers. So that's it, though. Thank you for having me.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for coming on the show. And maybe we can do this again at another point when there's other world events happening.
Like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thanks, okay, of course, thanks for having me on.